Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. Roxy and I are not recording this at the normal time, so it might be we're on a wild ride together. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge, and with me, as always, is your other host, Roxy Stryer. Hello, Roxy.
Hi, DJ.
We literally just saw a movie with a theater full of our closest friends.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm referring to the cast of Wakanda Forever, who were sitting right beside us. I'm kidding. They were not.
Oh my God. I was like, what
Wait,
was
wait,
that?
were they there?
Were you
No,
sitting on?
no. I was trying to make a joke, but like I just said, DJ might be a little swimmy right now because he's had a long day. But we are talking about Wakanda Forever today. And some of you might be listening to this early on the Patreon because you got early access. I posted a couple days early on the Patreon. Don't worry, it'll be after the movie premieres because we're going to go full spoilers. We're going to start spoiler free, but then we're going to do full spoilers because why not? But before we do that, I, of course, want to let you know about Patreon, patreon.com/onlystupid-answers if you want to listen to this early. And also exclusive shows like What We're Into and Spider-Versity. If you're on iTunes, you can give us a 5-star review. That'd be great. Thank you. And then if you're on Spotify, every week we ask you a question. Last week's question was, how would you like to see the DC Universe move forward?
What they say?
Solomon says they need a plan to reach a PG-13 Teen Titans movie with the cartoon lineup quickly. They've got a multi-generational fan base built in, and the live action show is inaccessible to kids / most people. I don't know if that's shade to the Titans show, but it sure could be.
Yeah, I guess so. My favorite part is how I'm just watching DJ power on through, reading that, just rubbing the fuck out of his eye. If only you knew what it was like to wear mascara, DJ.
If only I knew the burden of it. I've heard that the beard is the makeup for men.
But if you go like that, does it come off?
It doesn't come off. I think it's mostly... I don't know what it's supposed to mean.
Because if I go like this, you'll know.
You know what a statement that is almost always wrong is when somebody is like, this is the da-da-da for this, and it's almost never the case. It's almost
yeah, people do that all the time. Anytime they're in Boston, they're like, this is the East Coast, San Francisco. And I'm like,
what does that mean?
It could just be Boston.
It could just be Boston. Or San Francisco, the Boston. Oh, wait. Anyway, so... Listen, we've got a lot to go through. Rox and I have a lot of thoughts on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Normally, this is the part where I would read you Rotten Tomatoes scores, but we're recording this before there are any. Who know? Okay, so let me ask you, Roxy. By the time people listen to this episode, there will be Rotten Tomatoes scores. What do you think the score will be?
Ooh, it's such a hard question on this one. I feel like usually after the screenings, I can really gauge what the score will be.
Yes.
But in order to answer this question, I do feel like I need to lay a couple of things out there. Number one, at the end of our screening, some people clapped, some people didn't. I caught that. It wasn't a universal clapping, but also it wasn't really a moment maybe in which some people felt good about clapping. So, I think that there was a timid clap.
It does end on a rather somber note, which would have lent the confusion to clapping.
Right. So that. And then of the people I spoke to after, this was one of those screenings where a lot of people congregated and stayed to talk about it. But you never know whether that's because they loved the movie, they didn't like the movie, or because, of course, we're dealing with the aspect that this is one of the most anticipated movies after the passing of Chadwick Boseman.
Yes.
So I am having a really hard time. I was having a hard time reading the audience. There was several times in which I would turn and full body look at everybody to see how people, because I was in the front row, not the front row next to the screen, but the front row of my section. And people seem enamored with this. So if I had to guess, I think this is going to get an 86.
I think that's a very solid guess. Looking at the original Black Panther on Rotten Tomatoes, it got... Excuse me, it's coming up. It got a 96% from critics and a 79% from the audience score. And I think some of those audience scores are liars. But I think 86 is, I feel right. I feel like that's where it's going to land.
If you told me Are you shocked? I would be more shocked about this getting a 76 than I would about this getting a 96. Like,
Yes.
I think 86 would be on the low end of what I think it would do. I don't think it's going to drop to the 70s.
No.
Very likely in the 80s, could go into the 90s, depending on how some of the major moments affect people.
Yes. Agreed. I agree. So this is a good segue into our spoiler-free thoughts. And let's start. We got some questions from the Discord. Let's start with, obviously, a lot of people are talking about Tenochtitlan. I hope I pronounced that correctly, as Namor. Clementine asks, does the villain manage to hold a candle to Killmonger? Is that just an unfair comparison / standard to hold them to?
Okay. With no spoilers.
Spoiler-free.
Yeah, with no spoilers. Does and I asked Darina, I think it's a CH, not a K, because Spanish.
Yeah.
So I think she says it so fast, but like the not. Like, so,
we need to bring Monica in. Monica, how do you pronounce this guy's
Monica,
name? Which, by the way, the movie ends with saying introducing, and I was like, are you introducing him? I feel like he's been in other things. I'm going to research that while you answer the question.
So they're asking if he holds a candle to Killmonger.
Yes.
I don't think...
Dude was in Forever Purge. He's been in other things. Don't know why they said introducing him. Anyway.
I feel like... so just, I guess for context, Killmonger is probably my favorite MCU villain. So, Thanos and Killmonger, I guess, would be my number 1 and 2. I think probably a lot of people feel that way.
Yes.
MCU villains sometimes are slim pickings, but Killmonger stands so above the rest that that's tough because but not. I did not dislike him in any way.
Yeah, I think I think
he did a good job.
Yeah, I think he's really good in the role. I think what makes it complicated is, and we'll get into this in the spoilers, he's not really a villain. Like, he is, right. When we use the term antagonist, it's like, that's what this dude, he is the person that they're confronting, but he is not a villain. Like, he is not like...
but Killmonger kind of had that same thing too, DJ, but I feel like Killmonger makes several choices in which there is no return. I can't actually say what I'm going to say without spoiling.
Okay, so. All right, we're gonna hold on to. Yep. I think I know where you're going with that. Okay. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I would also, in my trinity of MCU villains, Roxy, you're not going to like this, but I would obviously say Killmonger. I do think Thanos, but I would also throw Wanda in Multiverse of Madness in there. I think she was a really good villain in that movie. Anyway,
I quit.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
I don't disagree with you. It's just not my Wanda.
Not your Wanda. Don't worry, she's going to come back better than ever, baby. But yeah, I agree. I think I would land more on the second part of that question, where I'm not sure it's a fair comparison because they're doing very different things.
Right. Like, I think if you ask me who is the villain of the first Wakanda movie or the first Black Panther movie, it is Killmonger.
Yes.
If you say who is the villain of this movie, I think I would have a more broad answer.
Yes. Agreed. Mike Joyce asks, there's talk of Angela Bassett getting an Oscar nomination for her role in this movie. What did you think of her performance?
Ooh, that's wild. I haven't heard that talk.
I have not either.
But the conversations that I was having when walking outside the theater were, holy shit, Angela Bassett is so fucking good. Like, everybody feels that way. She is so good in this movie, but she's just so great in life. I don't know that this is an Oscar nominated I guess it's not fair to say nobody could have acted in this role better than she could have.
Yes.
Nobody.
Yes.
But is the role an Oscar role? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. With that statement, but she is incredible. And also her arm game is on point. I just want her to put me in a headlock. She's been hitting the gym.
A lot of their arm games are on point. I mean, like, don't get me started with a lot of the Dora Milaje where I'm just like,
It's like when you watch Viola Davis and Widows, and you're like, that woman could probably rip my head clean off my shoulders. But she is always fantastic. Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, is this any more exceptional than any of her other roles? She's just uniformly great in everything all the time. So
Right.
if she hasn't gotten an Oscar already, she should. I don't know for this, but why not? Leonard Kim asks, after watching Wakanda Forever, do you think the MCU can delve deeper into Talokan, the same way that people have clamored for further exploration of Wakanda? I wonder if people will be entranced by Talokan and want more.
I did not feel that way.
I also did not feel that way, and that I will save the rest of those thoughts for spoilers. But it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's possible. I would love to see what other people are clamoring for after this movie, but I clamor for Wakanda forever.
Yes.
Like I just want to be in Wakanda.
Yes. And I would also say that I think when you more so in this movie, but even in the first movie, you get like, okay, here's Wakanda, here's the different tribes, it's like a fully realized, like 3-dimensional, there's different parts of it. And then Marvel tried very hard to have Namor and their Atlantis not be compared to Aquaman and the Atlantis in DC. But when you in Aquaman, it's like, here's the different Atlantean kingdoms and here's these things. That's not really Talokan's bit. It's like, here's our one bit, the end.
Totally. And it's very hard as a nerd to not try to draw comparisons. Mm-hmm. But when drawing comparisons, I just simply liked the way that Aquaman did it better.
Yeah, because I think it's one of those, like, I appreciate what you did here because what you made is more serious and more culturally grounded, but I kind of want the cheesy Silver Age fun part.
Yeah, it fit more with the tone of this movie. Yeah. What they did made more sense here, but like there was this isn't a spoiler, I guess it's just visual, speaking how the visuals work. The way that people speak or communicate underwater here was like off-putting to me.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
It was more specifically, there's one point where Namor gives a speech that was like, what are we doing here?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Not everybody.
Yeah.
But specifically Namor, where I was just like, and they do try to explain it, but I'm like, are you choking, bro?
Yeah, what are you trying to convey to me right now? But hey, listen. So those are, I guess, final spoiler-free thought. Yay or nay on Wakanda Forever from Roxy Stryer?
I'm super, super yay. My main spoiler-free thoughts on this movie is that it did the one thing this movie needed to do, which is not be fucking offensive. Yeah. This movie was respectful.
Yeah.
This movie was thoughtful. It was courteous, and it was self-aware. Mm-hmm, and if that was all this movie was, good enough. But it was that and some. And so I felt really good about watching it. It just felt like they understood their very difficult assignment.
Yes.
And they said, you know what we're not going to do? Anything that somebody could walk away and be like, that was rude. Mm-hmm. That was messed up.
Yeah.
Hate that, and I'm sure there's still some haters out there, but like in general, I think that this movie really knew it had a difficult task and it took it on the chin and was just like, we're going into it. We see what's happening, but here we are and we're not backing down and we are moving forward. And it felt like, and I don't know Chadwick personally, never did. However, it felt to me like he would have been really proud of this. Like he would have watched us and been like, I'm very appreciative of of the movie you guys made.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with all of that. I will say, I think it's a lovely movie. I think it is very respectful. I like that it gives all of its characters not only things to do, but an emotional space to exist in. Even characters like M'Baku.
I love M'Baku.
He's so good, and the movie knows you love him. Like the movie's like, we all know you love him. So here's some cool shit for him to do. And I liked all that, and I think if in my brain I was able to not compare it to the first Black Panther, I'd like it more.
Because for sure you You can't go into this movie thinking, will this be better or worse than the first Black Panther?
Yeah.
It is not going to be better than the first Black Panther.
Yeah. And
just go in knowing that that's not the question. It's not, is it better or worse? Is it a good sequel?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, because I remember when I saw the first Black Panther, one of the things was I thought, because then at that point, Chadwick Boseman was saddled with being the lead guy. In Civil War, I think his character had more complexity. And it's kind of like whenever Grant Gustin was guesting on somebody else's show, he was more interesting. It was one of those, well, now you're the lead guy. And now but now I can appreciate, unfortunately, in this context, I can appreciate the kind of like thankless job there, because he really was the sun at the center of that solar system. He was the gravity pulling it all together. And you can feel that absence in this movie, and not in ways that are entirely, obviously there's an intentional aspect to that, but I think there's an unintentional aspect to that where the movie feels a little aimless.
I agree in the sense that I think that I rewatched Black Panther today.
Okay. I rewatched a couple days ago. Right
before I went to see this. And I think that Chadwick Boseman is a true leading man.
Mm-hmm.
Just like really, when you think about the qualities of a leading man, he's like effortlessly handsome and charismatic, but he's also like more simple, and not like quirky and, all the things that other character actors get to do.
Yeah.
He's just like he was a true leading man.
Yeah.
And that is not in the sequel, obviously, because he's not there. And it does make you realize why there are kind of formulas for movies sometimes, because it's like, yeah, leading man, when you're Chadwick Boseman, like you really put a lot on your back.
Yeah.
And like you said, kind of thanklessly, because it's not like, I don't remember anybody walking out of Black Panther being like, oh, Chadwick was the funniest. He was the most interested, but it really is, at the end of the day, it's Chadwick's fucking movie.
100%. And I think that I am able to appreciate that now more in this context. Still a great movie though, by the way, in case that wasn't coming across.
Which one?
This one, both of them. Both of them.
I'm glad we both like this one.
Yeah.
It would have been a really big bummer to not like this movie.
Yes. It would have been sad. It would have been sadder than the movie already is. But listen, let's get into it. But first, oh my God, an ad break. Okay, we are back. God damn it. And this is going to be spoiler time. So if you haven't seen the movie, what the fuck are you doing listening to this podcast? I'm just going to kind of go through the movie roughly chronologically. And we open with kind of what the movie had to do, which is explaining T'Challa's absence. And we find out that he passed away from a disease that is undisclosed throughout the entire movie. They never explain what it was. It's some magic our hero is gone disease. I think it could have, maybe they didn't want it to be cancer because maybe they're like, sure, you could cure cancer, which don't do that. Actually, you could just,
this was the right choice. This was the right choice to me, that he was sick and that she couldn't cure him, and that they did not call it cancer, or they did not call it HIV or ALS or, any of our real people diseases. And I think that this was so smart, because this is supposed to, if you're somebody like me, or somebody who's lost somebody who's a family member that's very close to you, when you watch something, you immediately put your own experience. The second I hear cancer, I think I know cancer.
Yeah.
I wanted to be thinking about Chadwick in this moment, and I didn't. And I also think it's vague enough that so many more people can relate to it. Every one of us has somebody who's died from being sick of some kind. And so I was really hoping, I was like, please don't put a label on what this disease is. And then when they didn't, I was like, y'all are fucking smart, man.
Yep. Undisclosed throughout. And we get the funeral, and we get the Marvel title graphic, which normally has a bunch of images from their movies, but it was all Chadwick this time. And very emotional. It was very emotional.
It's so challenging, because I'm used to watching these movies and characters dying, and that's emotional.
Yeah.
Like, when you watch it and you're like, this person is gone and it's sad. But the fact that this character died and Chadwick is gone, I felt like you could hear during the Chadwick opening, you could have heard a fucking pin drop in our theater.
100%. 100%.
I mean, it was like nobody was crinkling their food. Nobody. It was fucking silent.
Yep.
Like in a way that I was just like, it feels like people are holding their breath right now.
Yeah. 100%. It was very emotional. And so then we get into the plot, which the long story short, the plot is basically kicked off by there's a device that can detect vibranium, and there's a distracting scientist, Lake Bell. I was like, oh, Lake Bell's in this movie, and then she wasn't. I was like, that's wild.
Lake Bell is one of my favorite actresses ever.
Yes.
And she's the actress I liken myself to the most. When people are like, who are you like as a performer? I say Lake Bell.
That's a good choice.
Saw her on screen and was like, Lake, my girl. And then I was like, oh, Lake.
Yeah. So not in this movie for very long. And it was just one of those like, wait, isn't Lake Bell too big to be in this small a thing?
But if you're Lake Bell, do you say no to this?
No, you say yes. By the way, for those that might not, she's also voices Poison Ivy in the Harley Quinn animated series.
Yeah,
for those
that nerd.
Yeah, don't know other Lake Bell roles. And so this pisses off the people of Talocan, which is also the name. It seems to be named after a mythical Aztec city. I've not done any more research than that, so don't ask me any questions. And Ramonda takes Shuri. It's been a year past T'Challa dying, and Ramonda takes Shuri to do this like ceremony that.
Just pausing on that timeline for 1 second,
yes,
DJ, because
please.
I was a little confused on this based on a couple of different things. So it's been a year since T'Challa died, but it's been 5 years since we had that movie. Like not in, I know that came out in 2018, but I'm saying in this universe, the events of Black Panther were 5 years ago.
I think maybe more that the events of Black Panther, unclear on. I do know that it has been 6 years since Infinity War, based on, we're going to get to Nakia soon, based on the Nakia timeline. Because they say she's been gone 6 years, and I felt like they were saying she'd left after the blip, after everybody vanished. I guess the blip was when they came back, the snap. And so
Black Panther was before that?
Yeah, Black Panther, I think, is maybe a year to 2 years prior to Infinity War in the timeline. I was talking to Hector, and Hector's very dialed in on the timeline, and he was explaining to him, was like, it kind of just it flew over my head. I was like, okay, yeah.
This is 6 years since Infinity War, and Black Panther is 2 years before that. We were talking about
a year to 2 years. Unclear. Timeline nerds correct me.
7 to 8 year. This movie is taking 7 to 8 years later after the first Black Panther.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
And so now that we talk about it like this, that 5 year time jump in Endgame is basically having the same effect on the Marvel timeline that COVID has on our timeline, where everything just kind of like jumped ahead. Like what time is whatever.
Just it was making some things like a little interesting. You know, there's a lot of lines about Shuri's age in this. Mm-hmm. Like, you're a kid, you're not a kid. And I'm like, well, literally, like, you're 8 years older than when he said that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big jump.
And how long has it, in our world, how long has it been since Black Panther 1?
2018, so 4 years.
Only 4 years? It's only been, only 4 years?
Yeah.
When they said 6 years, I'm like, well, that's as long as it's been since that movie came out. And now, that's not even correct. That's not even correct.
I'm not sure what month in 2018. So maybe 4.5. Let me check out. Do you remember what month it was in?
I want to say summer. Oh, maybe it was February. So maybe close to 5 years, closer to 5 years. I want to say it was like early.
Black Panther was. I thought that by the time I said was, I was going to know.
You were going to have it up there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay.
So February. So, so closer to 5 years. So 4 years and 3/4.
It's still wild. Time is
it's
so
just
weird.
I just was thinking about the timeline during this, and I was like, I'm unclear on the timeline. That's okay.
It doesn't matter. So they're doing a ceremony Ramonda takes Shuri to do a ceremony to like honor the pet, like basically let go of grief for T'Challa. And Namor shows up, and the first real scene that we see him in, there's a real scary bit where in the scene Lake Bell dies, we get the sense that they're not Atlanteans. The people of Talocan do not fuck around.
Totally. They did do a good job of I'm assuming that 95% of audience members have no idea who Namor is or who his people are
Yeah.
for anything at all. So I think they do a very good job of like immediately being like, this ain't good.
Well, and it's
Like what's
interesting.
happening here.
Yeah, there's a whole siren bit where they can lure you to the sea with their song. There's like an underwater jellyfish that I actually don't think pertains to what happens on there. It's just a red herring, maybe. Anyway, but yeah, Namor and the people of Talokan do not mess around. Anyway, Namor basically recruits the Wakandans to help him hunt down the person that made the vibranium detector, because what we learn is the people of Talokan also have access to vibranium, which is unique to this movie, not from the comics, as far as I remember. And I'm a little unclear why I'm unclear why he's recruiting the Wakandans to take out what we discover as a college student. It's like a lot of the stuff with like getting the inventor. I was like, this feels like a stretch plot wise.
The two things I was unclear with them were, number one, Namor, I believe at one point says that the world started looking for vibranium after Wakanda announced that it existed, which was in the events of Black Panther, when Chadwick goes to the UN to say what they have. Presumably that's what he says that's going on.
You're right. That is what Namor implies. And thinking back on it, I don't know that makes sense, because Claw was stealing vibranium before that, but okay.
Right. And also, like, then when we see what they've built,
yes,
I was like, fucking went up quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's been 7 years, 8. We still, yeah. So that. And then number two, with this girl, it was like, to a certain extent, I understood he was like, she invented this thing, but he makes it very clear that to him, the villain is the other countries.
Yes.
So that's why I was unclear why he wanted this girl dead. I would think that he would want this girl as a scientist for himself. Yes.
Yeah. Or just off the board. People. But also, it'd be kind of like saying, nuclear bombs are bad. We need to get rid of Oppenheimer. It's like, well, by the time it's invented, the cat's out of the bag. They already know how to make this thing now.
Right. That was the weird part. It was like he seemed kind of logical at times. So then it's like, you care this much about murdering this girl?
Yeah.
But the technology is already out there. I mean, the CIA has it.
Yeah, and he gets to that later. It's just weird. With the movie, asks you to play along for a while until he's finally like, well, yeah, actually, the girl doesn't matter. I want to take out the entire surface world. They're like, okay, well, now we're cooking with gas. Like, I get, you know what I mean? Because it's like, now yeah, like you said, it's like the CIA has it, and then maybe they don't know how to make it, but they can reverse engineer it.
The good news is I liked this girl.
So yeah, Riri, I was never Ironheart. Riri Williams never moved the needle for me until this movie. She's great in this movie. I also really liked, I think it's smart they did this with Killmonger in the previous movie. They're doing it here. I like introducing a black character not from Wakanda, because obviously their experience in the world will be different from somebody in Wakanda. She even makes a joke about it when they're in her dorm with her. She's great. She is played by Dominique Thorne, and she's going to get her own Disney Plus show, which now I care about. I was ambivalent before. Now I'm interested in it.
Also, not only is she not of this country, but she's also not of the same age demo. Like, she's, a college kid. I feel like that. It's fun.
And this goes into your timeline thing too, because I was like, wait, are her and Shuri the same age, or are they not the same age?
Right. This Shuri, like, during different parts of the movie, I was like, you look so vastly different than you used to look, but you still look so young.
Yeah, because I didn't notice the difference until they do flashbacks where you see her from the first movie. You're like, oh, she is older now.
Yeah.
So also, by the way, Everett Ross is in this movie. That's all. Oh, and I guess Martin Freeman is back as Everett Ross. He's mostly there for jokes, except, spoilers, we do find out that he is the ex-husband of Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, who we've been seeding out through these movies, which is funny and wild.
If you had only seen the first Black Panther and then this Black Panther and did not know who she was, and hadn't been introduced at all, would you have thought she was a good guy or a bad guy from this?
Unsure until the end, she has a line that was kind of scary, and now I can't remember it.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm really glad that I'm up to date on all my stuff.
Yeah. Oh, because she's been spying on the whole time. That's what we find out later, which was good because he just finds the Komoyo beads, or I'm sorry for the beads that they use.
I know, I was so annoyed by that. I was like,
And I
he's
was
just
like,
able to put them in his pocket.
Yeah, they didn't know. Oh, she was tracking him. But also then it's like, but shouldn't he be smart enough to be like, well, this is suspicious?
Totally. But he's actually seemingly not that smart.
True. Between the 3 movies we've seen him, and he's not necessarily the brightest bulb we've seen. But he's also, that actor's great, and I love him and everything.
Yeah,
so,
he's funny. I like him, and I do like his loyalty to the Wakandans.
Yeah, because honestly, he doesn't have much reason to be. They're like, they saved my life. It's like, yeah, man, but you might get treasoned for this thing. I'm not sure.
No, but they really saved his life. I mean, like,
well, and
but
also,
in all fairness, he took a bullet for her. So,
and also, listen, if I lived in this fictional world and you're asking me am I Team United States or Team Wakanda, I'm going to lean Wakanda. All right, I know the shit we've been up to.
Bro. I'm already not really Team United States.
Yeah, man, I know what we've done. All right. Anyway, so this all leads to really.
I am Team United States. I'm Team. Whatever.
We're Team United States. We just listened. We've cracked open a history book. Okay. There's a big cool. The FBI shows up for reasons that I'm still not entirely clear on. Doesn't matter. It leads to a cool car chase that leads to Okoye, who is.
They show up because they know that this girl is being recruited by the Dora Milaje or by the Wakandans.
Yeah.
So they want to get to the girl first.
Sure. All I care about is that
they know that because they tracked the call from the bead man
the call is coming from inside the house. All I care about this leads to Denai Guerrera being fantastic in this movie and getting a cool fight scene with some Atlanteans and Tuma, who's kind of the only
they are not Atlanteans, my dude.
Damn it. The people from Telecon. Sorry. Thank you.
But I am so with you.
Yeah, they're Atlanta. Anyway, whatever. We're introduced to like 3 core people from Telecon. Obviously, Namor, Atuma, who has like a dope hammerhead skull headdress, and then Namora. They're cool. We don't get a lot of. They're just Namor's right hand people.
I think it's a big weakness of this film, actually. Although I don't know where they would have fit it in, and maybe it didn't matter that much, that I didn't give a flying fuck about anybody on that side.
Yeah.
You know, like we know Namor, but then like I remember Namora because it's Namor plus
Yeah.
And then that was all I remembered. And then like, you know, he's calling everybody like sister or whatever, or child. What did he call them? Kid?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Some like term of endearment. But like, if any of them are getting injured, don't care. If that, like, if I'm supposed to be if I'm supposed to look at these as people in any way, I wasn't.
Yeah, and even Killmonger had the right hand person was Claw, who was played by Andy Serkis, having a fucking blast in that movie. So he was super memorable. Yeah,
but it might be okay because this is not the point of this movie, but just not a strong suit of the movie.
No, I totally agree. And this sequence ends with Shuri and Riri being taken hostage by Namor. And this is where we get a lot of the backstory of Talokan, which involves colonialism, going back to the colonizer bit. By bit, I mean they joke about Martin Freeman's character being a colonizer. It pertains here as well because basically that's Namor's backstory. His people.
I actually thought the colonizer thing paid off more in this movie when they colonizer and chains. Never thought I'd see this day. I was like, that there, and also in the sense that because a part of Wakanda's backstory is it has never been subjugated, and Namor has seen subjugation. So we actually get a little of almost, now that I think about it, a little bit of like Magneto vibes where he's like, no, but I've seen, you all don't know. You've seen from the outside. My mother and her people experienced it. We also learned that the people of Talokan, I guess, can heal. That's never really. We learned that they get it from, just like Black Panther gets his powers from the heart-shaped herb. There was a flower that the people of Talokan, that made Talokan, took, and they are blue underwater,
No, they're blue outside of water, underwater, normal skin tones, except for Namor, who explicitly says he's a mutant. He
Right.
can fly with his little feet wings, and he's strong as shit.
What did you make of the fact that he wasn't blue? What did you make of the fact that we needed to dry him out? And what did you make of the fact that he calls himself a mutant?
I think all of that is comics. In the comics, Atlanteans are blue except for Namor. In the comics, he's
Not
quote
an
unquote
Atlantean.
But in the comics, they're Atlanteans. In the comics, I'm saying they're Atlanteans.
Oh, okay.
In the comics, Atlanteans are blue. They're not Atlanteans in this movie, but same rules apply. They're always blue, though. I actually thought it was a really cool visual thing that when they're out of the water, they're blue, and when they're in the water, they're not. That's not from the comics, as far as I know, but it looked cool. And Namor is quote unquote the first mutant, which I always found confusing because he's also, what does that mean? He's also an Atlantean. So I didn't actually in this movie, it made more sense to me. It's like, oh, because he's got bits that the other people don't have. Sure.
Cool. Okay. And did you like that he did? Like, I feel like anytime you're watching something Marvel and we hear the word mutant, everybody's like, did you think that are they dropping any kind of anything?
Sure. I am kind of burned out on it at this point because it's like, just get to the fucking X-Men, guys. I don't care. Like, I don't care about Namor and Miss Marvel being mutants. I just want the X-Men, my dudes. What are we doing?
Okay, I hear you.
What about you? What about you?
I'm kind of with you, except for the fact that I get a little giddy inside when I hear it.
Mm-hmm. At least they didn't do like the X-Men animated series needle drop because it would not have made sense here. It would not have. Although Namor was on the X-Men for a minute in the comics. What did you think about the backstory of how we got the not Atlanteans? Also, it should be mentioned, he's old as shit. He is hundreds of years old.
Yes. Once again, I love how smart Shuri is. It's such a bummer that in real life, she doesn't seem to believe in science because boy, oh boy, is she super fucking smart in these movies.
Yes.
The fact that she is like, oh, this bracelet's from them. I'm looking at this bracelet. I can tell when this bracelet's from. I know when your mom's from. You're really fucking old. And I was like, you're really fucking smart.
Yeah.
However, I did expect the bracelet to kind of play more of a part in the movie, unless I'm missing something.
Well, I mean, she does use it to create the new heart-shaped
thing
bird.
Because of the strings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't really get that.
Yeah, I guess because it has traces of the flat and the I don't know.
Okay. I was like, maybe she's gonna have to at the end. I thought maybe she was gonna return it to him as
more of a
on the
thematic,
ground. Yeah.
As opposed to this unlocks the secret flower thing now,
which didn't quite make sense to me, but it was fine. But his backstory, I thought was it kind of reminded me for different ways. What movie did we just see with Chris? Okay, hold on. This is what happens when we're filming at 12. Here's how we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Who's the guy who plays Batman? That's not Ben Affleck.
Robert Pattinson.
Nope, the other
Christian
one.
Bale.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
What comic movie was Christian Bale just in?
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Okay, in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Bingo.
What was Christian Bale's character?
Gore the God Butcher. Oh yeah, his kid does
this.
it. Oh yeah. I also do like that in this.
Thank you.
Namor he's not just a king; he's a god. I thought that their worship is a god. It also
that was cool.
Namor's name, because I think in the comics Namora is his cousin. I liked in this, it's basically, we don't even explain why she's named Namora. He's a god. There's probably half a dozen Namor adjacent named kids running around this kingdom.
Yeah. But that worked for me, and we didn't take too long telling it. But the reason that it worked is that it's fine. The reason it didn't work is because I do think people are looking for another Killmonger, and I'm not attached to this story like I am to Killmonger's story. Killmonger has the best of all of the villain backstories to the point where you kind of root for him in a dirty to yourself way where you're just like, ooh, what happened to you was fucked up.
Yeah.
When I'm watching this, I'm not feeling like, ooh, what happened to you? I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah. Like in Black Panther 1, Killmonger's I was portrayed by Wakanda, and obviously I have feelings about the United States, so fuck all y'all. Whereas Namor's I want this scientist, but also genocide. And it's Sure, I guess. I don't know, man. I'm whatever. The actor was great though, selling all of it. And
Yeah, he is really good.
God bless him for doing the work, for being shirtless for most of that movie.
For sure. And at the very least, everybody in this movie is so fucking good looking that I don't know how somebody could dislike it.
Exactly. So we're gonna go on another quick ad break, all right, everybody, and then we'll be back with more of this movie. So Shuri gets out. Shuri and Riri are freed by Nakia, who's recruited by Ramonda. And fuck, Nakia's so great. And why am I blanking right now? Because it's midnight. That's why. Wait, is she? Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita Nyong'o is so talented and pretty. Anyway.
Yeah. She's just really, truly got it going on.
Yeah, she is so good. But yeah, she shows up and she takes out a few. She shoots these not Atlanteans with like what appears to be like a ray gun. Like in any other movie, it'd be like, this was harmless, and they're like, no, these people are dead. And it's like, oh, I thought that was it wasn't bullets, so I thought they were fine. No, they're dead. And this, of course.
I am confused on the power of whose guns or whose weapons, whose works on who at this point. That I'm like, I don't know.
I guess maybe she was using that because we already determined bullets don't work on them. Anyway, doesn't matter. They're dead. Namor's super pissed about it. So he basically leads like a stealth squad into Wakanda. And this is a dope action sequence, but long story short, it ends with Ramonda dying, which I don't know what you, Roxy. I was like, is this too much? We already dealt with T'Challa here. We're really putting Shuri through the ringer on this one.
I did think though that it was like if Angela Bassett's going to come save, or Ramonda's going to come save her daughter, there's going to be ramifications. And like, I do think that this was really putting her daughter to the test. This is like, this is the thing that pushes you over the edge. This is your origin story. This is why that most Disney princesses are orphans.
Yeah. Oof, yeah, she's having. I just didn't know. Like, I think maybe I was feeling like I'm kind of emotionally spent on T'Challa and Chadwick, and so I don't know if I have a lot in reserve. Like, it's just like, oh, here's another casualty, and it's like I feel like this should feel bigger. Except we open the movie with the lead of the franchise being dead.
Yeah, I do think though that like the way that she was able to swim down deeper and save Riri, and then like just the way it happened, it just all kind of made sense to me.
Yeah.
And I could feel it coming. Yeah,
and also she makes decisions. She's kind of maybe let's say a little overzealous in protecting the family she's got left, and this ends up being the result of it. And so this is what, like you said, this is the origin story with the bracelet and T'Challa's DNA and some other stuff. Shuri's able to re-synthesize the heart-shaped herb, which of course was all destroyed by Killmonger. And then, so she takes it, she goes to the ancestral plane, and I was really curious, even rewatching Black Panther, I'm like, how are you going to do this? Because realistically, this is a perfect opportunity to bring back T'Challa, except you literally cannot.
Unless you did, which none of us wanted to see.
No, unless it was like AI or deleted, it would have been bad. But then I'm like, but it doesn't also feel right to bring Angela Bassett back right at this moment. And so they went for a major swerve that was also awesome, but also had the detriment of reminding you part of what made the first movie so great, which was the return of Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. And he immediately steals the movie almost from everybody else.
The scene is effing awesome. He is so great in it. The whole time, from the way this movie opens, first of all, I think a lot of people thought it was going to be Shuri as Black Panther anyway.
Yeah, especially if you look at like the post, once they started promoting more, you're like, okay, it's Shuri.
But then if you weren't convinced that it was going to be Shuri, then the second the movie opens, you know it's going to be her because it's very clearly her movie.
Yes.
From the top of the movie, we know this is Shuri's movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's no way they're setting her up to be Black Panther. But I am, in my mind, I'm thinking, how are we going to get there? And what is that going to look like? And so when she goes to the celestial plane,
ancestral plane.
Yeah. And I'm like, thinking the same as you. Can't be Angela. I don't think it's going to be T'Challa. I don't think it's going to be T'Chaka.
Yeah.
Because like it's not going to be the same. So just sitting there, and then the second I remember, they're cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's him, I was like, this is great. And then the way that he just is so awesome, and it does have major influence over the kind of Black Panther that we're about to see in her. She isn't the same as T'Challa. She has some T'Challa in her, but she is she's got some Killmonger in her too.
Yep. Yep. Great scene, great use of him, but he's not going to stay gone, right? They're going to bring him back through Secret Wars or something, right? Because they clearly know how great Michael B. Jordan is in this role, because they brought him back for this, and he also had one of the best episodes in What If, which was like, what if Killmonger basically won? And it turns out he's a badass. It feels like this dude's going to show up in Secret Wars and maybe come back.
I don't know. It's like, to me, I feel like if he was going to come back, they would have done it in this movie more, because what does Michael B. Jordan want to do with his career right now? Obviously Creed, crushing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to see this next one. And directing, know that he's getting into that. So what does he actually want to do? I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up directing a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm. A Killmonger movie. Gimme. I want it.
That would be wild.
So yeah, so this all leads to a final showdown on a Wakandan ship, and the final battle between Black Panther, Shuri's Black Panther, and Namor, which she basically locks him into a high-tech tanning booth and sucks away his water powers. We learned that his powers are enhanced by water, and so this is a way to like put him more on our level. Although I did think it was smart. From a structural standpoint, to make it clear, like, she is outmatched. That's something Black Adam struggled from. Like, you can't just keep telling me how unbeatable your hero is. That's not a good way to build stakes.
Yeah, like, she is strong, but not that strong yet. Like, she doesn't know how to do this yet.
There is a bit where she punches. I was like, I don't remember T'Challa being that strong. Like, she punches like a suit across the room. I'm like, I knew T'Challa was stronger, but I didn't know it was like that strong.
Yeah. But also remember when T'Challa, she tells him in the first one, hit the suit.
Good point.
And then he does. And she's like, hey. And then she goes to go get it.
Yeah.
I feel like those mannequins are very light.
Yes. Good point. Solid point. And it was probably a callback, and I just didn't notice it at the time.
Word.
Yeah. She sucks and she basically she nukes him. They beat the shit out of each other. It looks like she's gonna die, and then it looks like she's gonna kill him, and then she has a vision of Ramonda, and she decides to let Namor live. Namor frames this later when Namora is like, but I wanted to fight beside you, and he's like, no, this is good, because eventually the outside world's gonna come for Wakanda, and who do you think they're gonna ask for help?
Going back for a second, speaking of they're both gonna kill each other, a little confused on powers again here. In the first Black Panther, both M'Baku and Killmonger both stabbed Chadwick, both stabbed Black Panther, and he lives.
Yes.
And the M'Baku one, he like quickly heals. The Killmonger one, he slowly heals. And then this one, when Shuri gets stabbed, she heals. But it's going through the suit.
Yeah, the implication, and I felt like there was like a sound effect that made it feel like the suit was healing her.
There's like nanos coming in from the suit to like once she can get the thing out of her, then okay.
Sure.
I'm fine with that.
Which couldn't they have done that with Killmonger? Anyway, I know, listen, the end of that movie is super dramatic, and his last line is, but I want Killmonger back. He was so good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And he definitely could have been saved.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they say that when they're up there watching the sun.
Yeah, it's like don't, but also do say, I don't care what he said. Say Black Panther had two of the best villains in the entire MCU, and it killed both of them. Anyway, sorry, it's my one hang up for a very good movie that I like. Anyway, so Riri gets sent back to United States, is very explicitly told that she can't take her very dope suit that she makes with her, which I'm assuming was the movie being like, by the way, the Disney Plus show doesn't have the budget to make the suit look this cool, so don't hold out hope for that one.
But we will have a car.
Ooh, cool. And then M'Baku, who I think we mentioned earlier, is fantastic in this movie. It gets some very cool moments. He is, I guess, challenging to be ruler, and it ends with Shuri finishing the ceremony that she was supposed to do with Ramonda back in Haiti, I believe it was Haiti, with Nakia, which leads into our post-credit scene.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah,
I keep having to pause you, but with the M'Baku challenging,
yes,
Shuri's not there.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
He wants to be in charge now, and Shuri's like, that's okay. I don't want to be in charge. Is what I assumed.
But so she's just not Black Panther then, or she's just
I,
Black Panther because she's not in charge.
yeah, Black Panther, but not in charge. The implication, because T'Challa was Black Panther while his dad was still ruling. So I think you can be Black Panther independent of being ruler. Although he's still part of the ruler line, so question mark on that one.
But when M'Baku challenges Chadwick's Black Panther, that was to rule the throne and not to be Black Panther?
Good question.
Like Chadwick would have stayed Black Panther?
Good question. Maybe they're being loosey-goosey with the rules because they don't have a lot of heart-shaped herbs at this point. So they're like, we're not going to... You know that whole part of the ceremony where you lose the powers and then you get it back? We're not doing any of that shit.
Yeah,
we don't have enough of these.
We just planted some more.
We planted them, but there's only like... There was like 6. I don't know. There wasn't a lot. Maybe we let them grow back. But yes, question mark on all of that. Unsure. I will say, once the credits started rolling, I was like, you know what? Props to this movie for not doing what I felt like they were laying the seeds for and felt kind of cheap to me, which was, don't worry, T'Challa died, but he had a kid. All these fucking movies are doing it. I don't need it here. And then I spoke too soon because the post-credit scene happened. It was like, by the way. And I was like, God damn it.
If you go back, I knew that he had a kid from the minute that Angela Bassett turns to Shuri and says,
I need to tell you something about T'Challa.
I got to tell you something about your brother. And I was like, he's got a kid. He's got a kid. And then I just kept waiting for the kid. And then finally I was like, kid.
And his name is T'Challa. This is so we can do shenanigans and recast T'Challa without recasting T'Challa, right? Kang is going to age this kid up or something. And it's like, by the way, here's your new T'Challa.
Possibly. I do think it's interesting that, like, how are we ever going to explain that T'Challa and Nakia and Angela Bassett all know that little T'Challa existed, but Shuri didn't?
Yeah, I call bullshit on all that. He thought it would be good to be raised from all that. What the fuck are you talking about? This is some plot bullshit right now.
And he felt like his mom could know, but his sister couldn't?
Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Yeah, I'm okay with it because their backs against the wall. You know, it's not like they just made it, unlike the other movies that you're referencing that made that decision for no reason.
Yeah.
This movie made that decision because he died. So I'm like, okay, you felt like you had to do something. I'm not saying that this is a decision I would have made, but I'm going to give you creative liberties here that I wouldn't afford other movies because fine.
Fair. I just think
I know
there's other ways of listen, and not that I'm against kids or whatever. I'm just saying there's other ways. The fucking spoilers.
Cool.
I don't want to spoil another movie, but another franchise movie that killed off its main character was like, but don't worry, they have a kid. And I'm like, fuck, stop it. It's okay that they could just not have kids. It's okay. There's other ways to have legacy.
You know what would have been cool though is if Shuri stem cell researched this shit and was like, I'm gonna take a little bit of T'Challa, and then Nakia decided to have his kid while he's gone. You know, like instead of they already did that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Science.
Also, spoilers for. Let's see if you can pick up what I'm talking about. There's a half-hour drama that you and I like, Roxy, where they also pull the secret kid bullshit, and I was like, you sons of bitches. Anyway.
The only thing that's a half-hour drama that you and I watched recently is that one show, but I don't know about a secret kid thing in that.
We'll talk about it after we're on the air. I'm just saying. Anyway. And it's always like we had sex once and now secret kid, which not that easy. Anyway, that's it. That's the way the movie ends. Everett Ross is freed by Okoye, so I guess he's going to live in the. He gets like arrested and shit, so I guess he's going to live in Wakanda now. And that's it. What did we now? Spoiler.
Do we have a Black Panther 3?
They say Black Panther will return.
Yeah, but in what?
Secret Wars, definitely, possibly Kang Dynasty. How do you feel about Shuri Black Panther? Yay, more, or maybe find a new one in Black Panther 3?
Yay, more rhymes with Namor.
Mm-hmm, it does.
I feel good about it. After watching Black Panther, after watching the first Black Panther, if you asked me who should be Black Panther of this cast,
Mm-hmm.
it should be Shuri. She is his sister.
Yeah.
But I like her as like the tech genius,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what Black Panther is or does.
Yes.
Like she I like her more as like the Iron Man type, makes the suits, like does all the things.
It'd be like if Hugh became a 00 agent and you're like, wait, what are we doing?
Right. So I don't want to take away from that. But I think she has a good soul for the job. I Yeah, I think it's okay. I think I'm into it. I think that there was a lot of options. Like we've talked about, obviously all the different ways they could have gone. Could have been Nakia.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been um M'Baku.
Yeah.
Could have been Okoye. Could have been Shuri. Could have been whoever Michaela Cole's new character's name.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people.
She's not in the movie a lot, but she's good in the scene she's in.
Yeah, totally. I think that's pretty much who was on people's lists of who it could be, right?
Yeah.
Of those options, I do feel like Shuri was the best option.
Wait, let me give you another option that you didn't mention. We bring Michael B. Jordan back, and he's Black Panther now.
So I thought that would be a good option. We just knew they weren't doing that because he wasn't in the movie, although he is in the movie.
He is in the movie, spoilers.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that of the options, it makes sense, and like I do love having a woman be Black Panther. I thought that was really fucking cool. And I also thought it was really cool that wasn't part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, after watching fucking Game of Thrones and all the things like it, it's like, but can a woman have the mantle?
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't even part of the conversation. She figured it out, so she's the fucking Black Panther, and M'Baku's like, "Can you beat me in an arm wrestle? All right, dope. You're Black Panther.
You're Black Panther. You got the heart-shaped herb to work again. So good for you. I will say also worth mentioning, her suit looks awesome. Her suit looks so fucking cool.
Yeah, it does. However, I am like, this is in zero body shaming way. I'm just like, girl, you want to beat some ass, you're gonna have to bulk up in the gym. You're lucky you designed suits because you are small.
Yeah, she she is. I will say, after watching this movie, I don't know, and maybe this is informed by some of the behind the scenes drama.
I know it's hard to not think about that,
but I don't know that Letitia Wright is strong enough to have that. When we talked about Chadwick Boseman's like leading role energy. And to that point, I feel like we could have utilized Lupita Nyong'o more, because I do think she does have that, like, she has that it, that not that Letitia Wright is not fantastic. She's incredibly talented, but like, I feel like Lupita Nyong'o has that strength that like you could build a movie around her.
I feel that way about Okoye too, though, actually, because my favorite storyline in this probably was when Angela Bassett's character, how do you say it?
Ramonda, yeah.
Ramonda says, you're out of the door, you're out.
Yeah.
And
which we
like
we don't really resolve that in a satisfying, she just gets back in once Ramonda's gone.
Pretty much, but I loved like that conversation. And I do think that when she's like, when they go to the school, and what does she say? Like, I can be incognito or inconspicuous or whatever. Like she has main character energy.
She does. Denai, and I again hope I pronounce that right, is so talented. Is so fucking talented. She's so incredible.
But you are right. Lupita is like it girl. Shit,
yeah, I mean, she led us. I would say Winston Duke too, but the comic fan in me was like, no, M'Baku can't be Black Panther. His gimmick is apes. A different gimmick. He can't cross the streams. And I think, and again, the movie knows how much we love Winston Duke in the role, because it's like, hey, here's him, but also like he's still M'Baku, but also like he's kind of like toned down a little bit. He's a little more chill now. He's got fun uncle energy. Yeah, we'll see. Where you asked me, we've got to get a Black Panther 3, right? We set up. I think I feel like the setup is outside world coming after Wakanda, and now we need to team up with Tolokam. That's what it feels like the movie's hinting at.
Yeah. However, outside world, like usually these one-off movies are not a whole world.
Yeah, I'm assuming that would be like Doctor Doom in Latveria. Probably will be the representative of the outside world.
We're going to the United Nations quite a bit, So we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think we're gonna get a third one. I do think Shuri's gonna head it.
Okay.
One of the rumors I had heard about this movie is that there were gonna be several Black Panthers.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they didn't go that direction because it felt like it would have been weird for her to give up the mantle that quickly.
Or like we're now it's a team of Black Panthers or whatever would be like weird.
Yeah.
I think especially I think they went the right way too because they also have the cover of when T'Challa wasn't Black Panther in the comics, it became Shuri. So and that's a pretty safe place to be if the comic fans are gonna be like, but wait a second, it's like, but in the comics. You know what I mean? So you have that cover. I would be interested in maybe playing around with maybe if they age up Kid T'Challa, or maybe again, I can't emphasize this enough, bringing Michael B. Jordan back. I'm going to say I think it'd be interesting to see, but I don't think we're going to get another one considering this was 4 years until post. I don't know if we're going to get a sequel like in these phases between phases 4 and 6, a sequel. Like I don't know if we're going to get a Shang-Chi 2 or an Eternals 2 before Kang Dynasty and Infinity or Secret Wars at this point, which is weird. We had like 3 Iron Mans before Infinity War.
Yeah, like we might be looking at 2026.
Wild. I hope we make it. I hope we're able to get there. That'd be nice.
As a planet?
Yes.
No guarantees.
As a planet and as a people. Okay, that's basically. I did want to mention one last thing. Something that stood out to me when Shuri is frying Namor. She tells her ship. They build up the AI a lot as if there's going to be a payoff to that. No, that's just the AI. It's just Trevor Noah doing AI stuff. She's like, take us to the desert. And it is a desert on the side of the ocean, which is otherwise known as a beach.
Yeah, 100%. I thought that was fucking hysterical. She says, take us to the desert. And then they just crash on the sand. He's like 2 feet away from the water.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's the beach. And he's very close to the water.
It's super duper not the desert.
The desert. Yeah, that's a whole different. You know what movie went to the desert? Aquaman. Anyway, not to make comparisons. That's it from us. Roxy, any final thoughts?
No. I like the movie.
I liked it as well. Let us know what you thought on the socials. What's your socials, Roxy?
At Roxy Stryer.
You can find me at DJ Talks Trash. You can find the show everywhere that matters at Only Stupid Answers. But on Twitter,
you got the vowels from stupid.
And we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.